Yeah, there's no way they could have put that back any further.
Good afternoon. It is 5 p.m. and I am calling this special Human Resources Committee to order. It is Tuesday, September 24th, and we have a quorum in chamber. Number one is discussion and possible action to approve the security door policy.
As you know, I think it's probably been a year or so now that when council directed the city to make assessing the second and third floor a little more secure for departments and for the mayor and other departments. That work has been done, and this policy basically is to lay out how we're going to go about that security policy. So it's in your packet. If you have any questions, if I can answer them, I will.
Go ahead.
Mr. Henderson, I know you and I communicated a bit about the alder's ability to enter during the day and so forth, and you indicated that, I believe it was on page 2, item 4, that indicated the level. It doesn't specify alders anywhere, though.
Well, I think it really, that policy or that part wasn't really fleshed out. But there's going to be 4 levels. I think there was 4 levels or 5 levels of security. Let me see. I know that council has 4 levels because what started happening is, because it happened to me the first time, we had a council meeting and I went down to Mint Cafe to eat and came back and my car didn't work. And it was because it was after 5. So they changed for department directors, have pretty much 24/7 access if you need it. And I think it was decided that the alders needed the access from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., saying that council, because I know probably a couple council meetings probably went past 10, but I think that was just kind of a thing, and no weekend access. So that's the level of security, or that's the level of access that council has.
But during regular business hours from 8 to 4, an appointment has to be made to see each department. Is that correct?
That's what I'm being told.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Question.
Go ahead.
So I get that, and I get the openness to the council chambers, but when open meetings are held up in the boardroom, what's the procedure for that?
That's a good question. Again, I spoke with the mayor right before I came in here, and basically he said that alders that wanted to come in during those hours would have to make an appointment.
Well, I'm talking about the public.
The public?
Who are sitting on commissions or whatever during the day, how and also visitors with regard to the boardroom. What's the procedure?
Well, that's what Alice is for. The machine that we have down there, they'll call, and then someone will come and get that person and take them where they need to go. It prints them a temporary badge, and then they come to where they need to go.
I understand open meetings to be a little bit more open than that.
Right. I think at the end of the day, because of the location of the boardroom and this, that every effort is going to be made not to utilize the boardroom because of exactly the concerns you have, which is it wouldn't meet the open meetings requirements.
And the Maple Room is
The Maple Room would be much easier to open access if there is a public meeting being held there.
right. I still have some major questions about this, but especially open. But I see you, Vicki hasn't.
Mine actually pertains very much to what Gary is saying, so we have an open meeting tonight.
Mike.
Mine goes right along with Alder Gisselman's question. So we have an open meeting tonight, and they want to come in for the Common Council meeting, which is after 6 o'clock. So there is nobody that's going to be able to go and get them and walk them in here.
This facility, the council chambers, is not secure.
Okay,
So you wouldn't need a key card badge, and anyone in the public could walk in. And the only requirement at that point is that we make sure that the security system for the front doors is unlocked for that. I know you've had that issue,
Oh,
right?
yes.
So, but the council chambers specifically aren't part of the secure area, and for exactly the reason that you're discussing.
It would only be the access to the second and third floors.
I think that alderperson should be, the word alderperson should be clearly identified as to what, because then if a meeting is at 3:30, then we would have to make an appointment.
You know, and I think that these are very valid points that you probably need to bring up to, I was not involved in writing this policy. I'm just the messenger on this one. But I think that these are valid concerns that need to go to the mayor, and I think he had a couple of more people helping him do this policy, but I think those are very valid concerns.
Michael?
Now, we can, as, I know, you know, you're talking about the access levels, it sounds like we're going to have, we might have to retool those, but we can pass this policy as it is, and the access levels, that's going to be flexible, I would imagine.
I mean, one of the things that the staff, you know, as all of the department heads got together, we all acknowledged that this is the first draft of this. There's going to be a change in culture here in regarding to security, and the likelihood that we are going to have to be flexible and be able to make changes when something that through the best of intentions is in policy, but we realize very quickly doesn't work. We need to have the flexibility to be able to adjust that.
But we wouldn't need to, the policy wouldn't need to come back to committee if we were going to change access levels, because it's, as it stands now, it doesn't explicitly say, you know, which employee or elected official has which access level
Right.
in the policy at this point in time. So that, I'm guessing that's going to be a little bit more, you know, once the policy is implemented, those access can be changed on the fly that best suits the needs of the individual.
I can tell you that's our intention, not to come to council every time we want to change it from 4 to 4:30 or vice versa, not to come back to council.
Okay. Okay, and then I guess the only other concern I had with the policies, I did see some grammatical errors, but in the copy of the policy that was included in the council packet, those grammatical errors were highlighted and corrected. So can we assume that the one that's going to be in the council packet is the correct policy document then?
I think that's a good assumption.
Okay.
Well, this is policy, and the staff and everybody, as it goes through the city council, this is it. I mean, it can't be changed on the fly. I mean, we just don't change, I don't think we should be in the position of changing policy on the fly. I think that if there are nooks and crooks that should be changed or things that should be ironed out, I think they should do that before it comes before a committee of the city council, specifically the city council. I think that if this needs work, ironed out to be as specific as possible, I think that should be done. I have questions about this.
I guess I need to know, like, is it, you want alderperson listed in there, or what are your other concerns?
I want all the persons specifically identified and as to what time, and I'm not, and to what time, and I don't think that the 4 o'clock is appropriate. I think it should be,
So you think that, I'm just trying so we can bring it back if we need to. Do you feel that alderperson should have access, 100% access? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I'm just trying to figure.
Well, but just the discussion a little bit ago was that, well, we'll make those adjustments, as we find that that one policy doesn't work, it should be adjusted. Well, I mean, shouldn't this have been a little bit more carefully thought out?
Well, I look at it in the same vein as in what my purview is like job descriptions. When there's a new job description, it has to come before HR and council. But once there's just tweaks to that job description and it's not new, I can approve it. So I look at it in kind of that same vein. I don't know if that's comparing apples to apples, but that's kind of how I look at it.
I don't think a job description is a policy of the city council.
That's fair.
This is an HR policy?
It would be. It would,
Yeah.
yes, because really it's actually scheduled after this meeting is scheduled to go to council tonight. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion that the policy be modified to specify the response when the alderpersons have access, and possibly, I don't know how we would do it, but to extend the hours that alderpersons have access. I'm not sure how to make that motion, so that will move forward appropriately.
Yeah, that's out of my purview.
So, what does it say now?
I think kind of the and I wish the mayor was here, but
Yeah.
I think kind of the thing behind this is it's supposed to go into effect October 1st.
I understand.
So, but you guys have there's maybe Caitlin can help us with the question that you just had.
Excuse me, was the question what access alders will have? You currently have access to the employee door, will have access to the employee doors, the door in the lobby, and then the stairwell, I believe, you guys will have access to. You have your own group of access to City Hall during the hours that we typically have meetings in City Hall.
So what hours are those? Because we were being told possibly like 4 to 10.
That sounds right, 4 to 10?
So any meetings that are done throughout the day, an appointment needs to be made for.
To go upstairs,
Well,
because otherwise you would have the same access as the general public into the front area.
what Alder Gisselman was saying before you came in is that there are open meetings in the boardroom.
Yep, and we are trying to get those meetings, those committee meetings with like citizen members on them. We're trying to get as many of those moved to the first floor as possible to kind of help that, to alleviate some of those additional hurdles to get upstairs.
Caitlin, I
Yeah.
think the other issue was that Mr. Henderson has pointed out that the hours from 4 to 10 for alderpersons are on page 2, but alderpersons aren't specified.
Okay.
So Alder Gisselman, I think, and I agree that that needs to be specified before this is finalized.
Okay. So would you like to amend the security policy tonight, to get it approved tonight, to add that language in there? Okay.
Is that all you want to do, is add that piece? Is that getting your questions answered, though, Gary?
And sorry, I should say that that's what this current settings are, but we can also adjust them if you feel that you would like your hours upstairs access increased or expanded.
I think the discussion that we were having before you came in is that they kind of want that in policy before, instead of just saying, hey, well, I think that was the question, is can we get that before it's voted on? You have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
I guess my thoughts are, if an alder is supposed to be here for a daytime meeting, which many times they are, they shouldn't have to make an appointment or use Alice. It's just that an older person should be able to have access to come in during business hours as well, because that is part of their job. So I think those hours need to be increased to the daytime hours, to when City Hall is open, so that an elected official does not need to get somebody to come down and take them to a room. I guess that just doesn't sit well with me. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yep, and absolutely to Gary's and Alder Tierney's point is that, I think we need to specify specifically the security roles for elected officials, because, even in an employee handbook, there's all of these spaces where elected officials are supposed to conform to the employee handbook, but there's exceptions for elected officials spelled out in the employee handbook, specifically social media policy, and there's some other policies too where I can think of specifics off the top of my head. So I believe that exception needs to be spelled out in this document too, because it says right here, number 2, department heads will choose access levels, but who is the department head of the elected official? So we really need to have that level of specificity into this policy for electeds, and I think it needs to be since we've already been issued ID badges, key cards, it needs to be during business hours and in the evening hours if that is necessary.
How about this? How about that we pass this without the alder position, since it was not designated as alder persons, to get this through on October 1st for all employees, and we bring back the section on alders and their access. Would that work? Since that seems to be the theme, is the alder person access is the issue. Would that be amenable to everyone? Because I know they really want to get this up and running by the 1st, and it needs to pass city council first. Go ahead.
Becky, excuse me, Madam Chair, would it be appropriate, or how do you make certain that it be brought back just for those, if we pass it tonight, how do we amend that so that it's brought back to change those specific requirements? I don't know how to do that.
I think we can pass with the, I'm trying to think, we're going to pass it as stated with the obligation of amending it to, I guess we're going to have to table that portion, though, to bring it back. I don't know. What do you think, Caitlin?
I was thinking you could direct staff to bring it back at your regular October meeting, the portion on the alders.
But how do we pass it with knowing that that is, because it would be a separate policy? Was that what you're thinking? A separate policy for
Yeah.
alders? Okay, maybe that's better anyway, because HR policy, I don't like mixing alders with other employees in the HR handbook. It's not, I don't think that's great.
We could do that, if you don't mind my comment here. We could do a separate for alders, but the point of the policy is that we can make an infinite number of depending on what particular staff access we want to give. We don't want everyone to have weekend access to the back door. So we have 4 levels right now. Those can be modified depending on what the duties of a particular employee are. So if we want to parse out the alders and take them separately later, I'm good with that. We didn't contemplate that
Right.
a necessity.
Right. Well, let's do, would everybody be amenable to, and we will make it clear in the motion that we are passing this for employees to be set into the HR manual with expectation of an alder policy of access to be brought back to in October.
I'm good with that.
Are you good with that, Mr. Gisselman?
Well, I mean, here we said a week before, October or whatever, several days. And here it's flying through the standing committee as well as moving it on to city council. I mean, that doesn't give us city council people much chance to debate and to look at the document itself and to see what needs to be changed and to make adjustments on it. I think that I'm just upset a little bit with the quickness that this very important policy has to come before HR as well as the city council. Thank you.
Do you have something to say, Mary Ann?
I was just going to suggest one option would be to allow us to implement it, basically lock the doors on October 1, and then we would bring it back with it being basically a pilot, policy that we're just trying, and then we could bring it to the regular October HR meeting with any tweaks that we find, and the alderman portion of it included. So it's really just an understanding that we're going to implement it on October 1, not an actual policy.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess in my opinion, if it's not going to be an actual policy, why is it before this committee?
Well, I think the goal is to make it a policy, but we would just it would be more of an understanding of council that we're going to try it from October 1 until it's vetted. Again, to tweak any issues that we find and to fully develop the aldermanic access.
I'm going to be very honest. I don't like it being put before this committee as a policy and having it jammed through. We've known this was going to be coming for quite some time. And to have this get jammed through on a special HR meeting, I don't like that either. I am with Alder Gisselman on this. This should have been thought up. This should have been done previously so that if people had questions or concerns, those could have been addressed before it got jammed through two committees.
Well, what does the committee want to do? I don't know. I mean, Mr. Mayor, you, I don't know why maybe you can speak to why the policy waited so long to come?
Well, I don't know the exact date, but I know it was over a year ago that the council voted for this security system, and the security, apparently there was never a security policy. So I, along with HR and the clerk, we met and we developed a security policy. We now have everything here in place, and we should be taking measures to secure the building as was intended by this body over a year ago. So, the other thing they were waiting on was the Alice equipment. I don't know if you got a briefing on that, but that's the kiosk outside. It is now here and it's functional. And to not secure the building, there's no reason why we can't secure the building right now and lock this, and then everybody has to get an appointment to come in. But we're trying to make it as workable as possible for those who require or desire to have access. We're not trying to rush this through, but we're trying to secure the building in a timely manner. And I don't have a problem with, if you want to wait another 2 weeks, that's okay too. But the system now is ready to go, and we can start locking and securing the building now, or on October 1st.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yes, this body may have approved this system a year ago, but at that time, then it should have been started to, okay, we don't have a security policy in place. Instead of anybody working on it when it was approved, yes, it got down to the last second and jammed through. That is my feeling on this, because if this was approved to be put in place over a year ago, why was this not thought of at that time, or at least closer when the equipment was getting ordered and getting put in place rather than waiting until the week before when we get a
Sure.
a
That's
meeting on this. So-
Legitimate question. I guess I can't answer that. I wasn't here at the time. But once I discovered, and once we discovered, actually staff, it's been working on this for quite some time. It's not rocket science. We voted to secure the building. If there's some things that we don't like about it, this is a malleable. We're going to be learning some lessons here on how we implement this. If we need to change some things, we will. We right now are requiring departments to come down and escort guests upstairs. We've got resistance to that, but we're going to implement that. And if we have to make changes later on, we will. There's no rush here. Personally, I don't have a problem waiting longer, but the staff felt that the sooner we get this in, now that we have the equipment, the better it would be for the staff.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, in lieu of the stated concerns and the issues that we're facing and the fact that the mayor said it's okay if we push this back a little bit, would it be easiest and best to move the date required and take care of all the issues and make sure the policy is written as the concerns are addressed rather than to push it through?
We'll take your advice and we'll take your suggestions, and we can certainly push this back 2 weeks. I don't have a problem with that. Staff doesn't have a problem with that.
Is there a backup plan? So if somebody comes in and they want to go to a meeting or they have a function and they call to get a department head and they're not available, how is that handled then for that person to be able to be brought in?
So customer service staff will be available at their windows to help visitors as well. So, anyone at the front counter where you pay your taxes or your water bill, they will be available.
Okay,
during the
then I
day
think
as
that
well.
should
So-
probably be included in that policy because it says department heads would take them up. So if department head is not available,
I see what you're
what
saying.
is the next?
I thought you were talking about actually communicating with them.
No,
They
no.
call up there. Okay.
I'm talking
Yep.
about somebody has a meeting
Yes, in an
or somebody
emergency,
has
someone else
an
would be able to-
appointment. They're calling that department head to
Yep.
come and get them, but they can't be located or they aren't available. Who in that place
Yep.
would take care of that?
Same answer.
Oh, go ahead.
One more question. Has it been provided for that there will always be someone in a department and that there will always be someone there to answer the phone? So that if a resident comes in and wants to go to that department, do they know that there's going to be somebody there? Because I know we've had problems in the past with phones not being answered and so forth. So I think because we have a wall up keeping our residents from entering, we need to make sure that somebody is going to be covering those phones at all times. So
Well, I can tell you the short answer to that is no. I can tell you today the city assessor's office is closed for an off-site seminar or training. So there will be times when there won't be somebody in a particular department, and they will. That's why from inspections to engineering to assessments, they are encouraging appointments so that they will be able to meet with people. Is it perfect? No. When I was here, I voted against this, but we voted for this. We need to implement it the best we can. And if it's your desire that we hire somebody to staff the phone, we can have a backup where it can come to the clerk's office potentially. But if they call this the assessor's office, it will go to the default secretary or administrative assistant in that department. They'll have the option to call the other people in those departments, but primarily the primary or the default will be as designated by that department. So whether it's the AE or the department head. And as far as backup to the clerk's office, I don't know that we contemplated that. there's a message capability, there's email capability. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yep, you're right. And also there, on Alice itself, you can leave just a message for a specific department. You fill out a form with your name, your contact information, who you want to speak with, and then your message, and then that sends an email to our office, which can send it out to the specific person if no one is in that department.
I just perceive that people will come in not being educated about the policies. How is our public going to be educated that if they stop into City Hall and want to have an appointment and nobody's there? I can see a lot of frustration developing.
Well, I can tell you, Inspections has been contemplating this for months and has been encouraging appointments so that, one, that you're not duplicating or you're stacking people up and having them wait, but it provides a more efficient way of servicing. So that's already been happening, and there's going to be some learning curves here. I was over at the City of Green Bay a few weeks ago. They've got a different system there. They have every department locked. So you go to each department and you ring in to the department. If nobody's there, nobody's there. I don't have an answer for every case, but to provide the most open access possible in public spaces, I think is what we want to do here.
Okay. Should we just, we don't have to take action on this. We can just send this back with Mr. Henderson and bring it back. He can work with the mayor and the customer service people and bring it back in 2 weeks. Is that your desire? Okay. All right, we need to, we're late. Would somebody, the next session is discussion of possible action to approve revision to leave donation policy. Can somebody read the closed session?
Is the closed session item pertaining to item number 2? I thought item number 2 is a separate.
Right, it's a separate thing.
Oh, is it? Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the revision to the leave donation policy.
Yeah, and basically what this is that the way things are now, a person has to be here a year before they can get donated leave. We all know life happens to good people. And what this does, it just says that as long as you're in good standing, you don't have to be here a year for someone to voluntarily donate for your vacation time.
Second? Second? Any other
second.
questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, closed session now. Anybody read for me?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to 19.85 sub 1, or paragraph 1 sub F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons which, if discussed in public, would likely have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data for the purpose of considering leave of absence requests exceeding 30 days for one employee.
Perfect. Second? Second, okay. I'll do roll call vote. Martins?
Aye.
Killian? Gisselman? Tierney? And I'm aye as well. We will reconvene. We will be quick.